Hello everyone, welcome to episode of the BG Show. I'm here to do a review for Transformers 1, the new animated movie. It came out about a month ago, but I finally had time to see it yesterday. And as always, I'm going to get into non-spoiler thoughts first, so if you haven't seen it, don't worry, I'll give you a spoiler warning. And right off the bat, I want to say this is a really, really good movie. I think you can make an argument this is the best Transformers movie ever. I'm probably partial to the first one with Shia LaBeouf, but I love animated movies, so I knew I was going to see this, and I guess I would say it's probably a kids movie. I mean, it's PG, although it's not like a kids movie where it's like unwatchable for adults. I definitely think. I mean, my theater was pretty much empty, but I think this is a movie that adults can definitely enjoy, especially if you're a Transformers fan. But even if you're just a fan of animation in general, I think you'll like it. I thought this movie sounded really good, which I know is maybe a weird thing to say, and I don't even mean to sound that like a snobby film critic, but the thing about Transformers movies is like the sound is always really, really cool. I think there's even like a YouTube mashup that came up of like all the times they transform, like all the sound of it. So I think it sounded really, really cool. Like they didn't lose that in the animation like they did in the real movies. I think they did a really, really poor job marketing this movie, which is not just my point. It's a point a lot of other people I've heard made, which I agree with. The trailer, I think, didn't do this movie justice. Coming out of the trailer, I thought the graphics looked kind of shitty, and I'm like, their designs are kind of weird. But then they kind of explain it in this movie, and I'll get into it without spoiling it. And this movie honestly looks really, really cool. A lot of like the world that they're on, Cybertron, I think reminds me of a lot of different planets that I've been through, either in other shows, like in Star Wars. It reminds me of like the underworld in Star Wars, of Coruscant. But even like in other video games, it reminds you of like so many video games and different places you've been in movies and animated worlds kind of mashed together. So I thought that was really cool. I think the story was really rock solid. It wasn't like a super amazing story, but I didn't think there were any like huge holes where you're like, this is really dumb. I thought the movie was well paced. I liked that it was only 90 minutes. A lot of times, if it goes to 2 hours, for some reason, even though I love animated movies, when it gets to that point, maybe it's just the way you watch it. I don't know, the effect on your eyes, but like it's more compact. So 90 minutes feels longer than it would, I think, for a live action movie. So I thought the movie was just really, really strong all the way around. I think it's definitely one of the better Transformers movies. I liked it more than Beast Wars. Not Beast Wars. And was it called Beast Wars? The last Transformers movie that came out, I think it was called Beast Wars. I thought this was better. That movie was pretty good too. But if you're a fan of like Beast Wars the show or like any Transformers animated show from the 90s, early 2000s growing up, I think you're going to like this movie. So that's my non-spoiler review. This is my official spoiler warning. If you have not seen the movie yet, do not go forward. I'm going to be spoiling this movie in 3, 2, 1. So as you can expect, Optimus Prime and Megatron are kind of like the two main characters in this movie, and they're essentially miners, and they don't have the ability to transform. Whatever their like orb was in the middle was like taken out of them, so they're kind of the weaker Autobots. They don't have the ability to transform. They're working as miners, kind of like mining. They're like mining energy, and as the movie goes on, they kind of enter themselves. It kind of establishes them as friends, and they you can kind of tell that Megatron, it's not really his name yet, but you can tell he's kind of bad, or he's going to turn bad eventually. And they enter themselves in this race, which is like this Icon. It's called the Icon 5000, which is like this race that they all enter to. It's kind of just like a yearly event, like the Daytona 500 for Transformers. But they do a pretty good job in it. They come in last. It's like a whole thing. But obviously people thought they'd get smoked because of, they can't transform and they're very slow. And as the movie goes on, they meet Celestial. I think his name is Celestial Prime, which is kind of the leader of Cybertron. He's kind of like the biggest, the warrior, and the only surviving member of the war of Cybertron. And you kind of assume he's a bad guy. And this is like the big twist of the movie is, as the movie goes on, you turned out he's actually a bad guy, and he's actually been working for whoever they're fighting the war, the alien race they're fighting a war against. I forgot their names, and basically giving them their energy. And the whole origin of the miners is that he basically took out their orbs, whatever it's called, and gave it to this alien race and created miners just for the ability to harvest the power and give it to them. So basically, they lost all their abilities to transform. And as the movie goes on, they kind of uncover this plot, and Optimus Prime and Megatron split up, and eventually the Celestial Prime actually carves. Megatron has a sticker of kind of like, I think his name is Megatronus Prime, like the old one, on him, and he carves it into him, which is how he gets the thing. And eventually, Megatron gets to be that size because he kills Celestial Prime, the bad guy, and pretty much rips out his orb and puts it in himself, which is the original orb of the Megatronus Prime, and that's pretty much how he turns into Megatron, like in his final form. Optimus Prime eventually gets to his final form, and I guess this is one of the cool parts of this movie too, is they keep kind of leveling up. He levels up the first time by getting the ability to transform, and then he levels up again at the end of the movie. He gets this thing called like the Matrix of Truth, and they do kind of, they kind of like, he's like deemed worthy of it, kind of similar to a bunch of other Transformers movies, and he gets revived like much bigger in kind of his final form, and basically kicks Megatron off the planet. And so the movie I thought was really, really good. I definitely would recommend seeing it. What I'll get into, I guess my last point would just be the voices. I think Chris Hemsworth did a good job, although it wasn't perfect. The ending speech, I think you definitely felt it the most. He was trying to do like the Peter Cullen voice, and I don't think it was as good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't as good. I don't think it was as impactful like the closing Optimus Prime speech. And I also thought all the other voice actors were good. I also thought that Chris Hemsworth was kind of like suppressing his Australian accent, and it just kind of sounded weird, almost like a cowboy, trying to be almost like an American cowboy. So that was kind of a little bit off. But other than that, I thought it was good, and I think the movie looks really good. You know, I think it was a really good style of animation. The problem is the marketing of this movie was so bad. I don't think the box office was good, so I don't know if this is really a universe they're going to explore more. I really think the trailer, you know, I like that they didn't show too much of Optimus Prime in his final form, but I just think the trailer was really bad. It just didn't look good. But I thought it was really cool. It's almost like watching like a computer game, like an old computer game, but with really good graphics, but like watching the story mode for the entire movie. So I thought it was really cool. I really recommend this movie. I'd give this movie like a good 7 out of 10. When I do my top 10 movies at the end of the year, I think this will be on it. There'll be some competition, but right now I think this will be on it. Certainly a better movie than Joker 2, which is a movie I saw before this, so I'd recommend seeing this movie. Some really, really good nods to all the Transformers stuff. Some really cool action scenes. Like I said, it sounds really good. It's really entertaining. It's not too long. So that's my review for Transformers 1. Thanks, guys, for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.